We're all concerned about what's happened to this downed pilot. We need to do everything we can to recover that pilot. I think we're still trying to find exactly what happened, but there is clearly a threat in Iran.
The reality is, even if we have quote-unquote air superiority over Iranian airspace, you're never fully safe. They know that shooting down one of our planes is better than us shooting down 100 of their planes.
Combat search and rescue underway for the second crew member of that F-15 fighter jet shot down over Iran. The second crew member has not been recovered. The first has. Let's bring in our panel. Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief at USA Today, Fox News contributor Marc Thiessen, and Democratic strategist Megan Hayes. Mark, does this change the equation, and what do you think it means big picture?
Well, first of all, we're praying for that missing pilot. We're so happy that one of them has been recovered. Our military is just absolutely amazing in their ability to go in and do that. And these guys are very well trained in SEER training to evade capture. And so we're hoping for them. In terms of the big picture, I don't think it changes anything. I'm actually surprised that 34 days into this conflict, this is the first plane that they've been able to take down in this way. When you go back to the 1991 Persian Gulf War, we were losing a plane almost every day. And so, this has been a one-sided fight, and the bad guys got a punch in. But that doesn't change the trajectory of the campaign. It doesn't change the objective. It doesn't change the outcome. We're going to finish this, and we're going to finish it, and we're going to win.
Susan, this is war, and as Mark mentioned, the stats and other conflicts have indicated many more things happening. Obviously, the president has talked about a decimated missile defense system in Iran and decimating the Iranian military. Here's Senator Tom Cotton on maybe the exception to not putting troops on the ground.
The president has been clear that what we should expect to see is an extended air and naval campaign. Obviously, one risk of that kind of campaign is that an aircraft could be shot down and the president would never leave a pilot behind. So no doubt we have combat search and rescue assets in the region that are prepared to go in and extract any downed pilot. But barring that kind of unusual circumstance, Margaret, the president has no plan for any kind of large-scale ground force inside of Iran.
Susan.
Yeah, obviously we're thinking about the downed crew member and hoping for the best there. But I do think this was a sobering day. The president, in his Wednesday night address to the nation, left the impression that we were past the point where this was likely to happen because so much damage had been done to Iranian air defenses. I think this probably increases the possibility of some kind of retaliatory action by the United States, increases the possibility of the use of ground forces, increases the possibility that this war gets escalated as opposed to moving toward an exit.
Meantime, allies, Megan, are starting to talk and maybe plan about what to do about the Strait of Hormuz. Here is the UK Prime Minister.
We thought that there were real concerns about escalation risks, impact, including on the economy, and also the need for a proper plan. But now that we are facing these reckless Iranian attacks on international shipping, we're clear that we need the diplomatic pressure, the economic pressure, and also the work that's being done separately by military planners on how to keep shipping safe for the long term.
A British foreign minister there, Yvette Cooper. Megan, there are allies saying they need to get in the game here.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that oil is a global market, and I think that everyone is suffering here. I just don't think the United States should leave it just solely up to our allies when they did not choose to go into Iran to fight this mission without being notified or even, consulted that this is what we are doing. So I don't agree with the president that we can just let our allies go forth and try to get this open on their own. They're definitely going to need the United States' help in doing this.
The Strait of Hormuz traffic, the latest, Mark, is increasing, but it's still being threatened in that transit. And the question is, will that change dramatically in coming days? And how does it change the economic picture for the U.S. and the world?
100%. I think, first of all, the president tweeted out today that he's going to open the Strait of Hormuz. So that's a good thing. Admiral Cooper has a plan that he could execute tomorrow if he's given the order to do it that would open up the Strait of Hormuz. There's no way that the Iranians can keep the strait closed if we decide to open it. I think, quite frankly, what President Trump ought to do is he ought to have announce that he's going to have a Hormuz transit tariff. And that instead of Iran charging $2 million a vessel going through the Strait of Hormuz, the United States is going to charge a $2 million escort fee for every vessel going through the Strait of Hormuz, which is about $9 billion a month, $100 billion a year in revenue coming in, and we will waive that fee for any country that participates in the coalition to open up the Strait of Hormuz. That will open it up, and reward the good guys who are helping us and punish those who decide to stay on the sidelines.
Meantime, Susan, jobs picture was rosy today. Wall Street Journal jobs report hiring defied expectations in March, 178,000 new jobs. U.S. job growth blew past expectations last month, a resilient rebound that defied concerns about pending downturn. 178,000 jobs in March, the best month for job growth in more than a year, far better than February when the U.S. lost jobs. The March numbers also beat the gain of 59,000 jobs that economists had polled by the Wall Street Journal had expected to see. If you look at the line graph, unemployment going down, that's a big deal in this current environment.
Oh, yeah, this is very good news. The administration has had some bad news. This is very good news for the administration. It shows the resilience of the American economy. It continues. We've had this remarkable job situation now for a couple of years with unemployment that is really that's below 5%. And so this is encouraging. The predictions of really a very serious turmoil in the U.S. economy, even a recession. These numbers do not back that idea up.
Yeah, there's a lot of resilience in this economy if you talk to a lot of different people, no matter what side of the aisle they are on. Okay, winners and losers. Megan, first, winner, then loser.
The winners are all the people who get to finish watching basketball March Madness with the Final Four this weekend and then the game on Monday. And then the losers are all the Democrats who think that they need to buddy up with Hassan Piker, who's a misogynist, anti-Semitic person. The Democrats do not need a tent that big for him to be in it.
All right, Mark, winner, then loser.
My winner is NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, who has strong-armed almost all of our NATO allies into opening up their bases and their airspace for Operation Epic Fury and is organizing a coalition to help open the Strait of Hormuz. He's literally saving the NATO alliance from itself. And my loser is the New York Times. A lot of people today are wondering what NATO stands for. The New York Times literally does not know what the NATO stands for. They called it the North American Treaty Organization. Yeah, I know, pretty bad.
Oh dear.
How many editors
Susan,
that
winner
go
and
through?
loser.
Okay, you can cheer for whoever you want in the Final Four. You got to salute UConn. Final Four for both the men's and the women's. The men's team making it after that incredible comeback over Duke. So go Huskies. And my loser is the Department of Homeland Security. At the rate these talks are going to end the shutdown, it will never end. They will never have full funding ever again.
Good tease. I have the new Homeland Security Secretary on Monday for his first interview. So we'll have that. Have a great weekend. Happy Easter to all of you.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.